Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Kegley with Brad Sturdy, and we have Kedrick Prince, who has decided to look like a referee with the stripes going across because in honor of whatever the hell happened the last 2 minutes of that game when we decided that we need to keep this game close. So Keaton Wagler gets jumped into and kind of falls back. I'm sure he grabbed onto anything he could, falls backward because he got kind of basically, it looked like a good block that a left guard would throw. And then that's a foul on him. And then from there on, it got just bizarre. But hey, you know what? The bottom line is it's a Big Ten ref. Folks, I've said it. I've written about it. Illini guys fans are used to me doing this. But if the Big Ten that makes over $1 billion a year doesn't want to hire these guys full time, that means that they have a regular job. That means they fly all over the United States trying to do games. They're exhausted. They don't get a lot of training. They've got 2 jobs. Look, if you hired these people, gave them good money, let them referee year round because there's AAU basketball all year round that they could practice their skill sets. They could get feedback and coaching. They would improve. You could also say, hey, you don't have to do 6 games a week anymore. We'll pay you well enough. You do 4, you get some more referees in there. There's so many ways that the Big Ten and the SEC, they have the most money, could set these guys up to succeed. Instead, we use a system like this that you get some stuff that you're just wondering what the hell they're looking at. So the Illini win. They win 75-69 over a Iowa ref-fueled rally. Iowa's a good team. Illinois should be proud of the victory, especially on the road in Iowa City. Brad, you want to just carry the torch in whatever direction you want after that little diatribe?
Well, this is why when you win on the road in the Big Ten, you almost have to win by double-digit points because there's going to be a swing because of officiating. And, you know, give Iowa credit. They made some good shots there in the first half. I thought Illinois' defense was fantastic. They made a few tough shots to hang around. Second half, I thought Illinois, when Sturtz went out, Illinois became a sieve defensively and just allowed layups, backdoor cut. How many backdoor cuts did they give up?
And how many shots did they get to Koch in the corner?
Oh my gosh. Well, but that's the same principle. It's either back, you're losing that guy because you're getting beat it's from the weak side. So they have to be better defensively down the stretch, I think. But it goes to show you just how hard it is to win in the Big Ten. Don't think sometimes we appreciate it. We just think, well, you should just win because you're better than Iowa. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to do those things. And in this case, they had some big shots from Z. I thought, although I'm still stunned that he can't grab a rebound and not fall down. He had 2 rebounds and turned them both over because he fell over. And if you wonder why, I mean, he's a great rim protector, but my goodness, he has to be able to handle the physicality of the Big Ten if he's going to do that. You didn't see that happen to anybody else. So, but to handle it, big shots. See, Wagler was fantastic in the second half. Boswell made some big plays. Also, he's going to make some mistakes, but I thought his defense was really good on Sturtz, made him shoot tough shots, made it difficult on him. So yeah, overall, it's a really good road win against the number 19 Hawkeyes, who hadn't been down by more than 4 points at home in any game this year. So that's a good win, and it just goes to show you that no matter how much you lead by, we've talked about this on the show before. There is no lead safe now in college basketball. It's much like the NBA in the sense because you have 30-second shot clock. It shortens the game, and so. This is what happens in the Big Ten, and the conference games are going to be like this. And you got to find a way to win. You got to grind through a 20-game conference season. We saw yesterday, Michigan lost at home, right? I mean, to Wisconsin, who had been struggling. It's never. I don't know. It's just it's never easy. And let's say the officiating was definitely atrocious. I mean, I thought, and. Here's the deal. Illinois didn't get close to anybody to foul them in the second half. So they got free reign on those layups almost every time. But Illinois got fouled many times. I mean, every time they went to the basket, they're getting hammered. I mean, hit in the face. We saw Merkovich get hit in the face. Wagler got hit in the face. Stojakovic got hit in the face. I mean, these are not like questionable calls even. They were not even it wasn't there. So, yeah, big but a big time win. So whenever you get a road win, you take it.
Kid, I'm sorry, Zebra Kid.
I'm tell you here. Let me start with this. For those who don't know, I have a 2-year-old grandson, and he was watching the game with me. And when the kids are 2 years old, anything that you say, they're going to repeat. And my son is not happy with his father right now because I'm telling you, the F-bombs, the remote. That officiating was atrocious. And my son literally left because he was so upset with me. The worst call I thought I'd seen in college basketball was the one on Keaton Wagler. He got grabbed. He was falling on the ground, and I was expecting him to shoot free throws. I'm like, he's finna ice this. And they give the ball back to him. The first foul on Zonomir, he was pushed. The second one, it should have been a foul. I'm going to tell you why. There was a jump ball on number when he called a travel on him once. How in the hell do you call a jump ball a travel when both guys are going for the ball? Who's a travel on? You just pick and choose? That was the worst officiated game I've seen in my life, and I'm telling you, Illinois won, and I'm pissed off because I can't enjoy it. I think that you have to have officials like that, and I don't care if I get called out on it. They put me in a timeout, as they say in one of the movies. What is the Dirty Dancing? Nobody puts baby in the corner. Put kid in the corner, baby. I am irritated with that. That game shouldn't have been that close. I'm sorry, Mike. You knew it. I'm telling you, it was coming. That shouldn't happen. It should not.
Well, I tried to make sure it's recognized by people who, for posterity, in the crawl there at the bottom. So
that's horrible, man. I mean, like, what are you looking at? And then, like Brad said, I mean, Underwood was being nice, but how many times did you like? Keaton Wagner was getting bumped off his dribble, and you know what? That's going to happen. I get it. I understand. People are going to do that to him, but damn it, those are fouls, and I don't care if they're continuing to do it. I'm going to give kudos to.
We've all watched that.
I'm tired.
We've all said so much with you just at some point we've coached people. You know what? You can keep hacking them because they ain't going to call you for 90 fouls. So,
but Brad, right? You shouldn't get that at home though. When you're at home, you're going to get calls. I get it. I understand. But Mike, it's like they were trying to give them the game on purpose. And I want to make one more comment about Zonovan before we go to the game. Bennett still missed that layup because he thought he was getting that shot blocked. That kid is a good player. He wouldn't miss that layup. That's why I love having him in the game. Sorry.
I'm going to say about Sturts, though, the one thing I'm going to say, you guys will totally disagree with me on this, but there was a part of me that Illinois, when they thought about it, kind of went at Sturts when he had 4 fouls when he came back in. And there was a part of me that's almost like, the way the team was playing, do you ruin their mojo by bringing in a guy who's been sitting for 12 minutes, even if he is your best player? And I really thought that if Illinois had really wanted to, I would have just started doing the same stuff that you saw LeBron do a decade ago against Golden State, where they started running at Steph every play. I think I would have just went to whoever Sturts had and put that guy underneath the basket and either get a layup or get him fouled out of the game. I know that's kind of crazy, Brad, but that's just kind of how I was looking at it. Any thoughts on what you saw, Brad, there in the second half that saw Iowa close the gap with a 45-40 advantage in points on the Illini? Microphone.
Is he there?
The big thing was the offensive rebounding, giving them second chance opportunities. Couldn't even get stops there. And then the other thing was the backdoor cuts. Just way too many backdoor cuts and too many wide open threes off that weak side action. And I get they're trying to help, but they have to do a better job of communicating. They lost some people on switches. They lost some people on cuts. Overall, I thought, and we see that there are going to be days when things go well and for certain guys. And, the big key for them, Wagler, Boswell, Stojakovic, and I actually thought Mirkovic, although he only had 7 points, he missed a couple easy baskets at the rim, but I got fouled in those. But he had some good passing. He had 12 rebounds, something like that.
12 boards.
So he was solid. Those 4 guys, and then you get some production out of Z and Tommy a little bit off the bench. But the rest of the bench guys are so inconsistent right now, whether it's Z or whether it's Davis, whether it's Humrickhouse. One thing, Ben brings defense. Who knew that was going to be the thing? He still made plays, but, we thought he was going to be a shooter. Davis struggled defensively. got beat on numerous cuts, missed guys, and so forth. But I think he does space the floor, but they didn't let him get any clean looks today. So you could see they had a good scouting report. But I thought defensively, you saw something interesting was like the defense. And again, it's a team that they had second half. Iowa just basically spaced the floor, went small. That is what Illinois still struggles with. When teams go 5 out, when they play small. Illinois defensively, in the first half, you saw Iowa leaving guys inside. They weren't going 5 out. They kind of tweaked it in the second half. That's where Illinois struggles, and they have all year. And you saw them try and make an adjustment, putting Hummerkaus in and have Merck and Hummerkaus on the court together as the 4 and 5. But that's been a thing. We go back to even when they played UConn, they outscored them when they had Terrace Reed on the floor because they had 5 on the floor. They struggled to stop Alabama. All those things they're still continuing. They still have to get better in that area.
I was going to comment on that, Brad. I'm glad you said that because I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about basketball, and I'm just asking, and I'm really serious. I saw that Brad Underwood went small because you're right. They've kind of struggled with that a little bit. But I still think Z's a rim protector good enough to change the game, and I thought that's when a lot of the back doors happened because there was nobody back there. But then Brad tried to match it, So I don't know. It's tough. It's like rolling the dice, I guess, because Ben is smaller and he is a better defender, especially off the dribble, than any of the bigs that we have. So I totally understand that. But then you give layups up because Ben is not looking to protect the rim. At least I don't think he is. I mean, I think he's a good shot blocker, and he's definitely improved his defense. If there was one weakness, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
He had a key. I thought he had 2 key rebounds today and one key block shot.
Yeah.
He could have had another one because I don't think he fouled him on one of them. I thought it was a good block shot.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bad call. No, but I think, Kid, you're right. I think in that situation, the way I was playing, they had to go small a little bit. One, also, you don't turn the ball over on offense because Ben doesn't turn the ball over. He's got one of the lowest turnover rates in the country, and you don't want to turn it over in that situation as well. While he still provides some of this floor spacing. However, the thing that's interesting is that you can't do that long term. I think it's a short term thing where you go in there for a minute or two defensively where you need to make that switch. And I thought that was effective there. And they didn't do it for a long time. They just did it more at the end down the stretch. But I think the other thing is they're just not getting anything from Tommy still. I mean, just really another. I mean, I know he made some shots. I scored some points, but he was
turnovers, they double team him, and I don't know if you can hear it on your TV. They're yelling double, Brad. They're yelling it, and he's just reacting. He's reacting too slow with it. Yeah,
I just think he's used to not having anybody come, and so it's interesting. I don't know, but it's all good. I mean, I think that they're pretty. I think it's a good win. I mean, everybody's looking. I always get a kick out of this when I read the comments. You would think Illinois lost by 15, reading half the comments that we see everywhere. Illinois wins a road game at number 19 Iowa, and it's the end of the world by a lot of these people. I mean, just stunning. Yes, you're gonna. They did not play a great second half. Although the one thing that was interesting, that I thought was very intriguing was which half do you think Illinois scored better, first half or second half?
If you ask me, it's the second. It don't look like it because
it does. You don't think of it. It was second half. They scored more points per possession than they did in the first half.
Because you know what?
Their defense went terrible.
Iowa made runs and it made it look like the Illinois wasn't scoring, but they were. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's probably why it looks like that. I agree with you 100%. And here's the deal, though. You know what? I mean, my son made a comment to me before he left my house. Iowa really hasn't beat anybody really good on their roster other than Ole Miss and UCLA. And as good as they are, and they're improved, but you look at their games, because he was like, I'm telling him how good they were, and I'm going to tell you, today, stick your chest out, Keaton. I mean, Kylan Boswell, I saw him play defense today. No one has ever defended Ben like that. I watch him play all the time, and no one has ever guarded that guy the way Kylan did today. So, you know what? And kudos to him and Kylan Boswell. And also Stojakovic, because he got Illinois going early. So I'm impressed with him as well.
Two comments that I like here. One is better to complain about refs with a win versus a loss. I got to give Digital Anarchy. Good point. And then the other one is Brandon, a big time contributor. The shot selection is the issue that at times, you know, like I said, there's just times you got to think about like what you do before. I know Coach Underwood wants you to feel confident and shoot, but sometimes you got to think a little bit.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about the shot selection, I totally agree with that. I talked about that at halftime, right?
Yep.
But Iowa's defense, they were just putting 3 and 4 guys in the lane much of the time in there, and there was just nowhere to go. And they drive, and then they weren't getting called for fouls. And that's true. I mean, Andre, that's his thing. Everyone wants him to drive, stop shooting threes, drive to the basket. That's great, but they're leaving. And when you drive and kick, and you've got whether it's Z or Hummer or even Wagler or Boswell, they're wide open, and on the weak side, you throw it. I mean, you got to knock them down, right? I mean, at a decent clip, or else it's not going to matter, because it's too easy for teams to, stuff the paint if you're not making threes and force you to shoot threes. I mean, Illinois was, and Illinois was, we talked about that, but Illinois was 10 of 28 from 3, which isn't bad. I mean, that's 35.7%. I mean, I think you'll take that. The problem is, Wagler had 4 of them, Z had 2 of them, and then it was 1 for 5, 1 for 3, 1 for 5, 1 for 3. Nobody else really connected. So they just have to get a little bit. I think that some of the 2s they took were kind of bad, and I think there was one fadeaway by Boswell that was probably one of the worst shots that I've ever seen. But yeah. And this was the way they played. They did a good job of taking care of business. Like I said, again, the second half, the offense was not the issue. I know we like to, again, we're talking about this. It's all about how many points you score, efficient wise. I mean, I thought this game would be about like this offensively, 7 or low 70s for Illinois. I thought if they got to 70, they were going to win. I think I had predicted like 74 to 71. I don't remember exactly what it was, 74-70, something like that. So this was about the way I expected to play out. Not that they would get up 18 and then have to, hang on, but I thought they'd, find a way to win at the end in a close game.
Yeah, I looking back, let's go real quick just for folks again. Looking at the overall stats, Illinois ended up shooting 49% versus 41% for Iowa. Illinois was 36% from the 3 versus 31% for Iowa. That's that turnaround Brad talked about in terms of the second half, because that was not the case in the first half. Free throws 82 to 100. There were only 6 shot by Iowa, 11 shot by Illinois. Turnovers, Illinois ended up 12-8, had a few more there. Points off of turnovers, Illinois didn't get any in the second half. They had 9 at the half. Well, they ended up being down 13-9. Total rebounds, Illinois was up by 13 at the half, and it ended up only being by 7. So you're seeing some of those changes that made the second half a little bit more palatable for Iowa fans. And Iowa actually ended up with 10 offensive rebounds. Illinois had 9, so they really flipped that around. Second chance points, 9 for Iowa, 8 for Illinois. Bench points, 36 for Iowa, 8 for Illinois. Points in the paint, they were tied at 36. That Illinois had an advantage at the half. And then fast break points, Iowa ended up 11-6. Illinois 4-2 advantage in blocks, 7-5 advantage in steals. 19-15 advantage for Iowa in assists. Illinois led for 39 minutes and 27 seconds of the game. So if you do think it was not a good one, not a good game by Illinois, that's not the right thing. But you could say that the Illinois defensive intensity and focus in the second half was lacking, and I'm sure that's what Coach Underwood's going to talk about, because now I think they're going up to what could be a trap game against Northwestern on the road.
It could be.
Tough. It's going to be a tough game. If you don't think it's going to be tough, you're wrong. It's Big Ten. It's on the road, and Northwestern's going to be hyped for that one.
And the leading scorer in the Big Ten, I believe, plays for Northwestern as well. Just real quick here, I want to make a comment about I think Digital talked about Stojakovic and his threes. He's wide open. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's average or below average at best.
They wanted him wide open, kid.
Yeah, I know that, and that's what I'm going to say to him. But he's right up.
Yeah, that kid. You tell that kid, there's a reason you're open.
Bracketed. I mean, let's face it. On the pick, they bracketed either side of the pick and just kind of waited with their arms crossed to see if he was going to launch a three or if he was going to drive.
I think the other part about that too, though, it depends on where you're at in the shot clock. You know, if you're late in the shot clock, you have to shoot that. I mean, there's 7 and you're wide open, you have to shoot it. But if you're, if it's off one pass, then maybe keep the ball moving, drive, kick, whatever. So,
and my other thing is, I know you're directing this podcast, but I'm gonna tell you today, Keaton Wagner showed to me. I would love to see him come back, but man, you talk about a guy that just answers the call. I mean, think about this. For me, I can't speak for you and all of our listeners. I want the ball in his hands to take a shot every time there's a crucial moment in the game, every single time. That kid is special, and if he comes back, that's the best-selling coaching job that Illinois has done in a long time. All these people can talk about he needs to go take some Scooby-Doo vitamins and all that kind of stuff to get stronger. He's going to get stronger. It's just the nature of the beast. I can tell you a number of guys who went into the NBA who looked like him and who got bigger. That kid is really good, and he is so composed. Mike, you talked about a poker face. You mentioned it last time. He's really good, man. I'm sorry. Just his shot. He doesn't – I mean, it's like you think it's going to go in every single time, and he get to the basket. If he turns the ball over, which is rare, it's because somebody didn't move or somebody knocked him off his balance. He's special, and I don't think we appreciate him enough.
Yeah, and Brandon is paying attention to Marcus, who couldn't be here today. But Marcus has talked about, one of the key things that he would do on defense is try to walk somebody a couple steps away from the basket so that when they got the ball, they're not in their comfort zone. And then a big guy has to put the ball on the ground. Got to put it on, got to dribble it to get where he wants to go. And we've seen what happens when Tommy has to dribble it to get to where he wants to go. It's called dig, double team, as we talked about.
Well, I don't know why he should understand himself to know people are going to do that. That's paying attention to the scouting report. I would do that to him all the time. It does. If you think about it, guys, it doesn't happen to anybody else. It doesn't happen to his brother. It very rarely happens to David at all because he's smart enough. He's looking for it. You know what? He didn't score a lot of points, but I thought he was really effective today. I really do. I thought he got fouled a couple times, but to me, he was very, very effective. And complaining about the officiating and all this, and I was one of the ones, and I know Mike triggered me to do it. This was a big win. I'm going to tell you why. Now you eliminate the Nebraska game. And this is why the Northwestern game is huge, because now you have to win. I thought this was a great coaching job. Was I frustrated that I wanted Z in the game? Yes, but it's always more than one way to skin a cat. But I thought they came out prepared today. I was surprised. Illinois looked really, really prepared today.
All right. Hey, Brad, I know you got to leave. Any final thoughts that you want to any nuggets you want to throw out there for people before you have to get going?
No, I mean, I just think it's the kind of win you want to get in the Big Ten. This is how you win the Big Ten, is win on the road. This is a really good win, and it's the kind of win that if you can continue to put together complete games where you can, come out to good starts, have good game plans, and find a way to win on the road, home games become a lot easier. You know what I mean? Like, this is, if they can win at Northwestern now, you're in a really good, you're cooking with gas at 5-1. We thought this was a really good starting place for Illinois in the Big Ten heading into Purdue, but they got a great chance to go and win. If they win at Northwestern to get to Purdue game, and that'd be a great showdown at the top of the conference.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Can I add one more thing? There's a post about Illinois doesn't have the money to compete. Illinois spent the 12th most money in NIL money on basketball. So that's just not true. I don't know how to tell you it's not true. I don't know what more I can tell you. There's enough. There's got money. And the transfer portal class rankings, that's fine. I mean, Indiana's full of FCS players, and they're the best team in the country. They got all those kids from J. Madison. So it's all about talent evaluation, finding guys that fit what you're trying to do. So this is what it is. Illinois is going to have – by the way, I'll give you this tidbit. I think Illinois is going to have a massive – recruiting class this year in total when it comes to 26 and the portal. So, and they're off to a good start, obviously, with Murillo and Brown, et cetera. But I think it's going to end up being fantastic.
So do I.
Yep. So thanks, Brad, for coming on board. Ked and I will just do a few more minutes here as we get going. This is funny. Yeah, and I'm sure that is. I'm sure he is sweet as sugar, and it gets out all the gloom on the YouTube channels. Look,
what is that? I don't understand that question.
So this question is: how do we know that Illinois is ranked number 12 in NIL spending?
Go ahead.
Well, let me go a few things. First off, when you deal with Brad and Ked, they get some of the. They actually know what the real numbers are, not just the stuff that goes out into the paper or into the news. Because remember one thing, NIL is a lot like the WWE. You know, you hear that a certain wrestler, you know, Ric Flair is 6'1" and 245. You meet him in real life, and he's 5'11" and 220. Well, that taller and bigger, you know, looks cool. So it never hurts a player or a school to say, "Hey, man, we paid our quarterback $5.1 million." Then you find out it's $3 million. So Ked and Brad talk to the people, have a pretty good idea of who gets paid what. And then I'm like an aggregator because I interview all these people from different schools, and I can kind of get a heat check over there. I will say that I don't necessarily believe, I almost like take 25% off of what you hear. Depends on who the coach is, et cetera. But there's so much over building of that number because, again, it doesn't hurt anybody. So I would say that Illinois in basketball is top 10 to 15. But I also think if you're going to retain a player, Illinois does a pretty good job of that when they really need to, because you look at like the only guy I would consider Illinois has been totally outbid for in the last few years that they probably, you know, would have liked is Morez. You know, Morez just got stupid money to the point where you're like, I don't know if we can do that. And Ked may disagree with me on that, but as a guy who's, you know, been a VP of sales and you listen to what people are offered, et cetera, I think Illinois does a pretty good job. And I'm also willing to give Brett Bielema Coleman. I think Coleman was kind of, Coleman and Underwood were kind of done with one another. So I think Illinois was out of the running just based on that. But I will say that when it comes to Bielema, I'm going to give him a lot of points for developing players and having an eye for players that other people don't see. So I'm going to give him something. Now, maybe we'll find out this class isn't very good, but I tend to think Bielema is undervalued by the ranking programs. And then finally, say what you want. I know there's a lot of people who don't, for whatever reason, don't like Brad Underwood. But if you take a look at guys' performance at previous schools versus what they do at Illinois, guys usually improve at Illinois. And the one thing that Illinois provides is they provide guys a lot of open shots. It's up to the player to make them, but they get a lot of good looks at Illinois. And there's several ranking services that get into some of the esoteric numbers. And they will tell you that a Brad Underwood / Tyler Underwood / whoever you want, but the Illinois offense produces better shots for players than literally 95% of the shots they get at their old school. Ked, go ahead.
Okay, there's a lot I want to unpack here, and I hope I don't forget anything. The last comment I'm going to address is Stan, because that's the last one I see. I'll scroll up. I will tell you this. I'm not going to say exactly how much money Morez got. Do I know? Yes, and I know how much Illinois offered him. If I want to put this to bed, if people think that Illinois did not offer him I'm not going to cuss this PG, a lot of money, please don't. Please don't do that to yourself. This is the one time I'm going to gloat, and I'm going to tell you, trust me when I say this. When I get my sources, I mean, unless you're Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder, you should know where they come from. I don't understand why some people don't get it. And I'm telling you right now, he got offered a ton of money. Michigan offered him a little more. Illinois wasn't far off. They weren't far off. And he didn't want to come back to Illinois His dad didn't want him to come back to Illinois because I've told you, they want him to be well-rounded. I had a friend text me the other day, how did you let him get away? They didn't let anything happen. Sometimes the kid he doesn't want to be there. It doesn't work out, blah, blah, blah. It's there's a lot of things that go into play, and I'm telling you, they did. If you think Illinois is going to roll over and play dead and let Keaton Walker go somewhere else if he comes back to college, that I highly doubt that's going to happen because they know how important he is to this team. Brad is right. They have money. I mean, if you think Illinois is broke and that they're, living off food stamps, I don't know, whatever the hell they call it. I don't think it's called food stamps anymore. I don't know, whatever. Snap. But my point is, okay, SNAP. That's not the issue, guys. And it's just not. And so they're going to compete. Brad is right. I think when it's all said and done, I think some of the people are going to be surprised. There's a couple comments talking about how well of a recruiter Brandon Wood is. If you think they're not going to put a roster together, you're kidding yourselves because they're going to put a roster together. There's some kids out there now that are really, really interested in coming to Illinois. When I get a chance to talk to these kids, it's different for me. I'm kind of struggling with it because they tell me, well, I have a chance to go to the NBA with Illinois. Hell, that hasn't happened. That didn't happen under Bill Self when he was here. Definitely Bruce Weber. So now Illinois is in a good spot. Whether you like the players that they're getting or not, that remains to be seen. So money is there. Do they have as much as Texas Tech? Probably not. Well, I know they have the alumni have the much. They have the money. Whether they're kicking it in or not is a different story. I mean, let's just take one example here. And that money's not going to go to players. Look at how much money the guy donated from the Geese Memorial. Was it $100 million? That made national news. There's alumni out there. Mike has a list that he's given me probably 5 million times. I need to save it in my favorites on my phone. There's a ton of people out there with money. There's guys out there that you look on Twitter sometimes, and you go back when Illinois won, when they beat Tennessee in the bowl game, there were a couple of people out there with money with the ILL hashtag and online that hashtag. And some of the people in the state of Illinois didn't even go to school at Illinois. So the money's there. And I don't want people to think that because they lose a kid, sometimes, like I said, it just doesn't work out. So I'm sorry to go on my rant with that, but there's money to be had, and they're not going to just lose players. Now, sometimes if there's people out there asking for ungodly amount, I will use Dami Sarr. I will tell you this one. I will give you this. I will give you a treat with this one. This kid wanted a lot of money, and as a freshman. I can't tell anybody else how to feel, but it was Illinois knew they were going to get Andres Stojakovic. I'm sorry. I'm not going to throw a bunch of money, and Brett Bielema doesn't do it either, to an unproven freshman. And then you got Andres Stojakovic, who obviously is a good player after 15 points a game. I would have taken Stojakovic in a heartbeat too. So it's different philosophies. I like Underwood's take on that because I wouldn't have done it either.
Yeah, and a couple of things. We're going to run through some questions here real fast. I'll just do a couple things, and then Digital Anarchy. Couldn't the same be said about Illini players and leave and have their success at other schools? It could be, but let me tell you, there's just some things. You can say what you want about guys who leave, whether they go to San Diego State or whether they go to Michigan. There are a few who just have a little bit different role, and I would say that depending on where you're at, sometimes a role that you can play at a smaller school is different than what you could in the Big Ten. You see the style of officiating in the Big Ten, and you see the way they play. If you're not willing, if you're not strong enough to deal with that, there are some advantages maybe to going somewhere else or, et cetera. I think I put the Big Ten and the SEC in basketball at roughly the same level. And then the Big 12 would probably be up there as well. This one here, I'll leave this, if you can trade him. What?
I'll answer that. I have no problem.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you right now. Mraz, if he would have been in Illinois this year, he would have played like that. He's a year older. He's a different player. It's not like he didn't blossom in Illinois. He was a good player. He would have done the same thing. Personally, I am the biggest Zonovan fan there is. There's not a bigger media guy out there in the world than Kedrick with him. We were expecting Tommy to be a little bit better. Don't take me wrong. I understand the fact that he's struggling, and Mraz is great. But I'm going to also tell you, you can't take away Well, I mean, I know you asked about the visas, guys. You can't take away what Merkovich does as a basketball player either. We can talk about and brag about how good of a job, Morez is doing. Let's be honest with you. David had 12 rebounds today. He broke an Illinois record, a tied Illinois record for rebounds. I'm really sorry. You know what? Kids are going to get better. You're right. They can get better at different places. Sometimes it just doesn't fit, and that's okay. And that's the hard part, because kids do get better. I'll tell you what. Look at Draven Gibbs Lawhorn. And I'm going to say this because his father and I are really close. That kid's leading UNLV in scoring, but he is miserable. And he still watches Illinois play basketball. They're in love. They miss Illinois. Okay, I'm putting it out there. So because they're out there and they're doing that doesn't mean that they're not happy, that they didn't get money. It's not always as good as it seems. It's easy to sit and look at things. Oh, I know what I want to comment on. I'm glad you brought this up. We talk about people in the media knowing things and how Illinois is. I wrote an article about it, and it's been out, so I'm going to put this out there. For some reason, the media still thinks that the only schools interested in Draven Gibbs and Keaton Weigler were Illinois, Minnesota, and that's it. I'm going to tell you again. I said it on one of our podcasts. Kansas State was interested. Kansas was interested. Keaton Weigler visited Kansas. Was probably going to get an offer, but Illinois came in and everything changed. This came from his father. This is what you get locally from us, because what Mike's trying to tell you, we know that you're not going to get nationally. So if you want to tweet it, I'm going to tell you what's out there. Kansas was interested. And so the media will make Kansas look stupid, and people say, oh, why didn't Bill Self go after him? He did. He visited. But Illinois was one of the teams to show loyalty to him. When Minnesota found out that Illinois was involved, they backed off. They knew they didn't have a chance. So that's the one thing about coming to line, guys, staying with our podcast. We do know things, and I'm not going to say anything. Brad's not going to say anything that we can't back up.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw a couple other comments in here. The issues with the DL, the defensive line, let's talk about that for a minute. One is, and let's be real honest, you're watching in real life during these playoffs the importance of having impact defensive linemen. So you're talking a position that is going to be maybe the most expensive behind quarterback. As people look, and because you can get different running backs, you can get different wide receivers, but man, you get that right defensive line. Look at what Texas Tech did with absolutely no offense. They made it all the way to and lost to Oregon with not much on offense at all, and they've taken care of that in the portal this off season. So the other thing is Brett Beal made a comment, and he was smart about it. He just said some people will be welcome to come back. So my hope is that there may be a few defensive linemen that end up coming back. I don't know. I'm not privy to those conversations. But what you have to think about this like baseball free agency, where you only need one batshit crazy owner to give a player a horrible deal, and you're out your player. Well, now you got 90 or whatever, 80 teams that can, theoretically get some degree of money. And if somebody wants to shove all their money into Angelo McCollum, who's a very good player for Illinois can be like, gosh, we just can't afford that much for that one player. So that's the danger of the portal, is just all you have to have is that one outlier who's decided your guy, whether it's your quarterback in the portal, your tailback, your kicker, what have you, and pay an astronomical amount, and you're in a tough space. So my guess is what is being done is Cignetti, and I've talked about this before, and nobody in the national media is talking about it, but what Cignetti is doing is he is Jimmy Johnsoning the rest of college coaches. When Jimmy Johnson went to the NFL, the first 4 years in the NFL, he literally could blindfold himself and he would draft a player who was good because he recruited all those players at Miami. He knew more about them than just a guy who was coaching in the NFL trying to make notes on a guy who played. Well, 2 years ago, he was at JMU, being Kurt Cignetti. He was looking at these guys at a lower level, And he's been at Alabama. He's like, that guy can play. That guy can play. That guy can play. The NFL they will find you. They will draft guys out of James Madison. They will draft guys out of smaller schools. So what he's doing is he's got that experience and he goes, I know that guy can play. I know that guy can play. So you can get those guys from a lower level at a good price. Now, will he be that familiar with all those level kids in 2 more years? I'm not certain. But I think that's really helping him. And then on top of it, he got Mark Cuban to donate. He's got the Eli Lilly money coming in. He's the guy who got that coming in. He's got the bank, which I never can remember the name of their bank. So he's got this money coming in, and he can then go after the big names and get those other guys that he knows can play. It's a fantastic 1-2 punch. So as much as people say, I hate Indiana basketball, I don't really care if Indiana wins a national title because I'm so sick and tired of it being an exclusive club rotating between Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, USC, Notre Dame over the last 50 years. I don't mind this Indiana breaking it, but Illinois needs to look and find their billionaires, Mark Andreessen, and you can name other ones, Shad Khan, who's done a wonderful job for Illinois athletics. And there are other high-powered alums like Larry Gies, and you have to get those guys involved. And guys like that are very competitive, and they're not used to losing. If you get a few of those guys involved, Illinois has the ability to do that. But I will say it will be very, very interesting to me to see how that, like paying somebody super high to come to Indiana, how is that going to fit with the rest of the roster? We'll see. Signetti's a pretty good coach, so maybe he'll be able to sail through those waters smoothly. But when you start bringing in one guy making, $3 million a year and a bunch of people making $300,000, that may cause some issues as well. Ked, did you have anything over the top? And no, the right now the $100 million is probably more for capital improvements to the stadium. I don't know that they aren't going to be able to dip into it, but publicly that's where it was reiterated. And Whitman said that to us multiple times.
Yeah, I know. I was just stating the fact that there are people out there with money. That money's not going to the players. Okay, so I know that. I want to make a comment about from Williams 8201 or something like that. Mike, if you put on the screen, great. If you don't, I'm going to tell you what happened with RJ Melendez situation. I cannot tell you how many times we've talked about people and their camps. RJ Melendez was a good player, but if you want to, I'm sorry, this is unprofessional, but a kid is going to work today. That kid complained, and his parents and his people in his camp complained every 15 minutes. I would going to the press row, walking up to the stadium. I can't tell you how many times walking up, walking back, you saw somebody complaining. They're crying constantly in the coach's ears, always complaining about playing time. I mean, it was annoying to me as a media guy. It was annoying to the coaches, to his teammates. No coach wants to deal with that. So I'm telling you right now, so you understand, Brad didn't mishandle anything. That kid had people other than Kofi Coburn. There's never been one of the most disrespectful people I thought. I've covered Illinois in the last 10 years that complained more than they did. And look at the career. I think RJ, did he go to 2 or 3 different schools? That's kind of a bad look too as well. So it wasn't Brad. They would have brought the kid in if they thought he was going to be trouble. But sometimes you bring these kids in and these people think that everybody's going to the NBA and they're mad. RJ, one, he struggled a lot of times. Was he a good player? I was a big fan of his. But enough was enough. Constantly complaining. It got old. That's not on Brad Underwood.
Yeah. Well, and look, the bottom line is Illinois is, at least at this stage in the game, they're not going to have Ohio State money or Indiana money right now. Doesn't mean they won't in the future. And I think in the end, you have to depend on Bielema and Underwood and Shauna Green having a pretty darn good amount of money and then earning their salary by outperforming some of the other people. And look, if you take any coach, male or female, they'll tell you, you let me pick my players and I can get the right ones, and I don't necessarily have to have all 5 stars. And so I know part of what Signetti's doing is guys who've played a lot, he's getting them on the field. But look, the bottom line is Signetti is figuring out from that lower level which guys he thinks are either NFL players or NFL adjacent, and he's getting them there. So when people say Indiana doesn't have a bunch of 5-star players, well, they don't. But what you really want to measure it, and this is retrospective, I get it, but you want to measure in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, how many of those Indiana rostered players are in the NFL? And so Signetti's ability is to be able to find those guys that other people overlook and say, I want them on my team. It's not like they're magically, he's granting them talent. Certainly he's developing them, but he recognizes NFL talent. So my argument will be 3 years from now, you'll look at this Indiana team and they'll have a lot more pro players. And who's an example of that? Brett Bielema, because he hasn't recruited a boatload of 4 and 5 stars, but he's got a ton of players in the NFL. So you need to give Brett the money to attract those guys. And it'd be nice. Look, as fans, we'd all love to see Brett come in with 5 stars every year, but I'm just not certain in the economy that's out there right now, that would be the best way to use the money that you have in NIL, because you need to have a team that's deep enough to withstand injuries, go through not only a 12-game regular season, but a 4-game playoff. You got to have bodies, and so there has to be some depth that wasn't requisite there even 10 years ago. Kat, anything on your end?
Sorry about that. No, I mean, we've talked about this, to nauseum. So the point is, they're going to be fine with money-wise. Going back to the Illinois, Iowa, you beat Iowa again. Enjoy it, because I definitely am. I'm sorry. And it's a big game. Illinois, actually, I talked about Illinois beating Iowa down the road, and then it eliminates the loss at home to Nebraska, and now Michigan lost. You're back in the hunt. Nebraska, excuse me. But Michigan lost to Wisconsin, yeah. So now Illinois, you're back in the hunt.
Yeah, and look, the bottom line is, and the bottom line is, folks, we're going to kind of wrap this up now. We're getting to the point where we've talked all about Iowa stuff, and we've also talked about the recruiting things that are going on. I would tell folks that depending on what you're doing, we are reaching at 2:00 here. The Illini women's team should be tipping off right now on the Big Ten Network against Penn State. So it gives you an opportunity to watch Shauna Green, who some people say is the best of the big 3 coaches at Illinois. So might be worth tuning in there and watching the Illini against Penn State. Of course, we will be back. The game is Wednesday night, 7:30 against Northwestern. We will be back covering that one as well, and we look forward to seeing everybody. If you want to go ahead and get to IlliniGuys.com, you can subscribe for 27 cents a day. It is a great value. We'd love to have more people there, so please do that. And until then, go Illini.